Let's open up this conversation. Joining us on the broadcast, Professor Madhav Nalapath, Editorial Director of the Sunday Guardian, stays on with us. Let me take the opportunity of inviting in Major Mohammed Ali Shah, who is joining us on the broadcast, and Mr. Mukherjee is staying on with us also. Major Shah, there are roughly now a handful of countries who still make Kashmir an issue at the international level. The Pakistanis, the Chinese, Erdogan of Turkey, now the Germans, and up until he was Prime Minister, the only other person who in every speech at the UN would rake up Kashmir was Mahatir Mohamad. I already mentioned he is the one who provided rescue and succor to the likes of Zakir Naik. What does Mahatir Mohamad then represent?
Well, Mahatir Mohamad is a it is concerning that a 97-year-old man is still eyeing for the seat of a Prime Minister, and he's had his fair share. It's not that, from 1981 to 2003, he's already been there, held that top-notch position. 2018, 2020, once again, top-notch position, but now he says that he wasn't allowed to finish his term. And after 2 years, he went off because the government fell apart. In India, in the government service, say if you were in the army, you would retire at the age of a Lieutenant General at the age of 60. Whereas you're fit to work thereafter. If you're a chief, you would retire at 62. But here, 97-year-old man fighting for the seat of a Prime Minister, and who has really, in a way, radicalized quite a bit, who has been instrumental in radicalizing. But again, as Professor Nalapath said, well, he may not become the Prime Minister once again. But Anwar, though he was, he was booked for a case of sodomy. But in 2018, he was pardoned once again. He might come to power because he's been a good friend of India. So it would, in a way, it makes a big difference between the government that come to power or not. Now, also 6 million more voters are expected to vote this year, Rishabh, because they have last year, they reduced the age in Malaysia from the age of 21 to 18. So more voters are expected, but at the same time, the Met Department has predicted that there are going to be heavy rains, and there might be floods over there as well. That also could affect the turnout of the voters coming out. But now a lot of old Prime Ministers of Malaysia have thrown their hat in the ring.
But I'm just on one more tangent before we wind up this conversation. Now, of the many people of Indian descent from the Indian diaspora living in Malaysia, many of them are Muslim. Many are from the south of India, and they've been there for several generations and form an important part of the Malay community, its culture, its food, and its economy. At the same time, Major Mohammed Ali Shah, we've been seeing a global effort being made here in India and abroad to radicalize young Muslims, and you've seen from Leicester to create a situation of Hindu phobia. Now, how do we ensure that the same trends which we are seeing emerging in other parts of the world don't infect themselves, thereby impacting the Indian diaspora in places like Malaysia?
A very good question by you, Rishabh. It's very, very important to actually see who is on the helm of affairs, who is leading, because only the leader, it all comes from the top. Like, for example, the Malaysia's caretaker Prime Minister, Ismail Sabri Yaqub, who dissolved the parliament last month. Now, that triggered a snap election 10 months ahead of the schedule, and now, 19 November, they would be having their voting. But now, again, when you have someone from top who's balanced, who is not radicalized, who gives very mature, sensible views, it's very important to have that. But the moment you have somebody who is radicalized on top, obviously, automatically it penetrates from the top. Secondly, when you spread education, when you tell people, education means not just going to school or college, but you spread awareness, like the way you are educating people through your program about what being balanced is and what being radicalized is. And when people who are radicalized, they can also be brought back to, I would say, to see sense if one actually makes an effort. When people do not actually, people just give up. Oh, so-and-so is radical.
Yeah, but of course, the first premise, Major Shah, has to be just to prevent the brainwashing in the first place, right? I mean, if you carry on as in a cosmopolitan way,